Welcome human to Itsuki Tutorials. Before I get started with this video and talk about the new melee combat system that is in the works right now, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody's response to the first video. Just so many ideas, so many questions, so much feedback. It was all super helpful and very encouraging, so I just want to say thank you for that. And if you have any more ideas or questions or just want to talk about this whole project, please comment me or private message me. All of that has been really awesome, and I am totally open to more of that because it's been super helpful. The next thing I wanted to quickly mention is that I have some plans in place to do some live streaming during the Kickstarter campaign. I think that the direct interaction with the audience and just that whole aspect of live streaming will be super valuable during the Kickstarter. So if you have any ideas or questions about that, feel free to comment below. Also, after I start talking about what's new in this update, there were a lot of questions from the previous video, which I mostly answered all in the comments, but I'm also going to answer in video at the end of this video after I show off what is new in this project. So why don't I go ahead and get started. So the main thing that's new is I started working on a melee combat system that utilizes Mechanim. So as you can see, it's really simple. There's only 4 moves total. There's just 3 punches and then a super punch, and then 3 kicks and then a super kick, and then a couple of combinations going between the 2 of them. So my particular combo system that I have set up right here is pretty simple, but the way that this is all set up is that it should be fairly easy and very straightforward to set up your own combo system in case you want something that's more advanced or just more animations, more moves. I just had 8 animations that I made myself, and I don't really like the animations very much. They're just a placeholder for now. I'm gonna hopefully try to get some better animations before I do the tutorial series, but if not, oh well, it's just a matter of teaching the animations and the whole technique behind it. Even if I'm not that great of an animator, I at least know how the tools work and the technical aspect of all of that. So why don't I go ahead and, oh wait, actually, well, I'll show you first in full screen. So right now it's not done. I want to start adding some momentum, and also I gotta figure out the blending a little bit more. I gotta add a smooth damp between the different layers of blending. But as you can see, 3 punches. So if I go X, 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 whoops, I gotta do it faster. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And it does the combo like that. So it stacks up the combo so that you don't necessarily have to get your timing right. So I can press, what are some of the combinations, like X, X, Y, X, 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 Y, X. Maybe that wasn't a combo. There we go. I can also do punch, 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 kick. He does a backflip, or I can just do 4 kicks in a row. So as you can see, the animations really aren't that good. They're just kind of a placeholder just to show that the system is working and that you can stick your own animations in there if you want. Also, I still need to make the hitting work with running, and I got to add some momentum. And yes, and then also you can see here that I have been experimenting with just different slopes and trying to get the slopes to work. I'm thinking that, like, right now you stick to the side of surfaces like that, which is not ideal. So I'm going to have to come up with something to fix that. I think I'm going to have to do an array of current surfaces that the capsule collider is colliding with and decide which one is the most level, and if that is level enough, and then if it's not, then slide down. So I've been experimenting with different ways of fixing that problem, but I just disabled them for this particular demo because they were still a little bit glitchy and needed some work. But the combo system was what I really wanted to show off in this video. So actually, why don't I go ahead and quickly unmaximize on play and then select the character, and let's see if I can drag this over a little bit more so that you can see more of how the the spider web of the combo system works. So you can see X, 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 X does punches, Y, 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 Y does kicks. And then also you can see there's arrows going between the 2, so at different times you can press, like, let's see, I'm just looking at it. I'm going to eventually have to write these down, but X, X, Y, 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 so I think that's a combination. Wait, XXYYY. Oh, I didn't get the combination right. Okay, XXYYY. Oh, wait. I did XX. Well, whatever. There's a bunch of different combinations. In this particular situation, it doesn't make much of a difference, but you can just set up whatever combination of where you want all of them to go. And then from within inside of Mecanim, I'm using hashtags to determine what the power of all of the hits are and what bone is attached to the armature, so we can actually add later on we'll be able to add some like particle effects or like a trail effect on the hands and feet that are actually doing the punching and actually do precise collision from that. So there's a lot of possibilities within that, and yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done, but I just want to show off what I had so far. So why don't I go ahead and get into some of the questions. I got a little text file over here of all of the questions from the previous video that were in the comments. So once again, if you have any more questions, feel free to comment me. I would love to try to answer them. So the first question that came up a couple of times was C# or JavaScript. Is this project going to be in C# or is it going to be in JavaScript? Should I do it in C#? And basically that whole thing. So my plans right now, and right now the code is in JavaScript, and I'm thinking that I'm going to stick with JavaScript. It's really kind of a tough trade-off. Because C# works better with MonoDevelop, and just like the autofill aspect of C# works better with MonoDevelop, and it just is a little bit easier and cleaner with inside of MonoDevelop. And C#, a lot of people have mentioned that not a lot of people know C#, and it is like a good language to learn, and there's already a lot of tutorials out there on JavaScript, and there's not as many out there for C#, and those are all valid reasons. But I think that I'm going to stick with JavaScript, or at least as the main language, because despite the fact that it doesn't work as well with MonoDevelop, no matter what you type, just what you type in general, I think it's easier to read, and there's less little tiny finicky things. Like, since this is going to be a beginner tutorial series, I don't really want people getting stuck on things that are really confusing with inside of C#, that you kind of really have to know your programming before you can understand these little quirks of C#, and I can foresee them really giving some headaches to people who are new to programming. So I think JavaScript will just be the easier language. I'm trying to work out if there's a possibility of doing C# on the side, or maybe having side episodes just saying like watch the JavaScript episodes for all of the information, and these are just the differences for C#. Possibly. I'm not really totally sure about that. That would involve the C# viewers to watch 2 videos for every 1 video that the JavaScript viewers are going to watch. And I guess it could be a possibility that I could do the entire series also in C#, but that would almost be doubling my work. That would be a lot of work. I don't know if that would be worth it, but yeah, so if anybody has any ideas on that and how I can incorporate C# in a way that would work really well for both C# users and JavaScript users, that would be really awesome. So yeah, I think that covers that. The next thing that was addressed a couple of times was Indiegogo. A lot of people said that I should use Indiegogo instead of Kickstarter, and I am still open to this idea. I haven't done too much research into it. I've just researched a little bit into Indiegogo, and it does seem like a good choice. One thing that a lot of people mentioned is that if you don't get your goal, you still get to keep your money, unlike Kickstarter, or it has the option of being able to do that. But one thing is that Kickstarter gives somewhat of a sense of urgency, and that like helps out with the marketing, or at least this is what I've read a lot. Like the sense of urgency really adds to how successful a Kickstarter can be. And yeah, so I don't really know too much about Indiegogo. I think I also heard that Kickstarter has 6 times the number of average viewers or average users of Kickstarter. So there's more people on Kickstarter. Another thing about Indiegogo was that if you're not in the United States or the UK, you can use Indiegogo, but I'm in the United States, so that's not a concern to me. So yeah, it's still a possibility that I'm going to keep open. Another thing about Kickstarter is to somewhat emulate the way that Indiegogo allows you to keep all of your funding even if you don't reach your goal. Within Kickstarter, you can always do stretch goals. I actually saw a Kickstarter by the name of Energy Hook. It was a game made by the same guy who did the main gameplay programming for Spider-Man 2. He was making a similar like web swinging game on Kickstarter, and his primary goal was $1, and he had all stretch goals, and he ended up raising, I don't remember, I think it was like $40,000 or something. But obviously that is in a whole nother realm of what I'll be doing. That's at a whole nother level and a whole different amount of money than what I'll be doing. So I don't know if I can completely compare myself against him. But yeah, so if anybody has any other input about Indiegogo, I'd love to hear it, and I will continue to do research about Indiegogo, and I'm still open to the possibility of Indiegogo, but at the moment I'm leaning more towards Kickstarter. Another question, and this was kind of like 3 or 4 questions kind of in one, but the question was basically, do you really need Kickstarter? And I know that these questions weren't directed at me to be like offensive or anything like that. They were just normal, like those were very valid questions, like questions that really needs to be answered when announcing that I'm going to be doing a Kickstarter. That question needs to be answered. I know I saw a couple of comments in the video that people looked like they thought that it was offensive, or that they were trying to be offensive by asking me, do you really need Kickstarter? But I understand that that was a very valid question. One thing that was brought up was equipment. Is there any equipment that I need? Like what would happen if I were to just do Kickstarter, or I mean just do this project completely without Kickstarter. So do I need Kickstarter? Short answer is I don't need it. I mean, there's always other possibilities within life, and I mean yeah, it's just a matter of just different ways of doing different things. I think that without Kickstarter, I would just have a lot less time to work on this, and I would probably cut a lot more corners, and I don't think I would be as ambitious with how big I want this project to be, because basically I would just be spending a lot more time getting in more hours at some job that has nothing to do with video games, just a regular day job. So Kickstarter basically just gives me a lot more time, and then also funding that I can use for other things, like somebody mentioned equipment, and I do have a lot of equipment already. I have, right now I'm using a webcam, which I won't use for this series because I don't think this quality is good enough. I'm just using these for the update videos, but I also have a really good DSLR camera. I have a pretty good mic. I mean, I'm actually borrowing this from a friend. I've been borrowing it from him from for like a year and a half or something like that. I think he forgot that I was borrowing it. But anyways, so I got a mic. I also have another backup mic, and I have some lights that are actually like a fire hazard. So I think lights would be the first thing that I would buy, which luckily those are really, really cheap. Another thing is I kind of wanted to figure out like a somewhat of a studio setup. Like I wouldn't want to blow a bunch of money creating a studio and make it look like some sort of, you know, dumb school video or something like that. But I did want to put in a little bit more production quality into the setup when I'm actually filming myself and not screen recording, because I want to include that in the series because I really like to talk with my hands and like use like a whiteboard, which by the way, so that would be like another small investment, is a whiteboard that isn't that, if you remember from the FPS1 tutorials, the that red toy whiteboard. But yeah, so I mean, I would keep the costs of those types of things as low as possible, like really, really dirt cheap low, because that's the thing about video, is that you can be absolutely dirt cheap. Like in my Let's Talk Game Dev videos, where I have the background behind me that's all colorful, and like that was all paper that I bought from the dollar store and spent like 2 hours gluing together. So I spent like $5 at the dollar store, and now I have this big poster behind me for my videos. So it's definitely possible to be dirt cheap when creating studio sets like that. But also, that being said, being dirt cheap also implies I wouldn't necessarily need Kickstarter. But anyway, so the main thing about Kickstarter is time. Wow, I'm rambling so much. So hopefully maybe that kind of answers your question. Yeah, basically just I want to do Kickstarter because I want to have more time and be more ambitious with this whole project, and I don't want to cut any corners basically, and I still have to plan out all of the budgeting stuff, and right now it's kind of just a bunch of ideas and nothing's like set in stone and everything's always changing. Anyways, another question that somebody had was, am I using Unity Pro or Unity Basic? And I'm pretty sure this revolves around the fact that I have real-time shadows. Real-time shadows have recently been added to Unity Basic. You can put them on only hard shadows on one directional light in your scene. So they're very limited compared to the Unity Pro shadows, but they are real-time shadows and they are available in Unity Basic. And for this tutorial series, I definitely plan on using Unity Basic. I want it to be all free software that you use to get through this tutorial series. I want it to be possible to get through the entire tutorial series without spending a penny. And I do not have Unity Pro. That's something I actually don't even feel the need to have at the moment at this point in my life and just in my video game making stuff. I've been using Unity Basic. I love Unity Basic, and it has not limited me from creating what I needed to create, so I'm going to stick with Unity Basic for a while, and these tutorials will definitely be Unity Basic. Let's see, the next thing I wanted to talk about was tutorial organization, and just the fact that there probably will be some people watching this who only want to learn about the programming or only want to learn about the art. So I'm definitely going to organize the videos in a way so that it's very easy to find out which ones are which and get to which ones you want, and I'm definitely going to make videos that are going to fill in the gaps for the people that skip around and do the parts that they want, as opposed to going from the very beginning to the very end, so they can like skip out on all the art. But if they skip out on all the art, there will be videos in place that will teach them about the technical aspects of art. Like, let's say you are a animator who does pre-rendered animations in Maya or 3ds Max or something like that, so you're used to working with really high poly models. I would just have a simple video just showing just what you would need in order to move on from something like that type of modeling and move it into real-time rendering, or aka video games or Unity, and just give you the technical videos that you need. So I definitely want to add in extra videos and organize the videos into many different playlists, and really come up with a system so that you can skip around and really watch the parts that you need to watch or want to watch and get all of the information that you need. Let's see, the next thing, a couple people mentioned Android and iOS, and whether or not this tutorial series could be ported over to that. That is definitely possible. There's nothing within inside of this project that won't run on a touchscreen device or a mobile device, such as Android or iOS, or I think even Windows Phone. I think is now supported by Unity, I think. But yeah, all of that will work on mobile. The only thing is that this game's really designed first and foremost for a controller, secondary for mouse and keyboard, and both of those work very well. Like mouse and keyboard, I'm definitely making sure that it works well, so that if you don't have a controller, you can still play the game and definitely it will still be fun. And it is always a possibility for, on a mobile device like a tablet or a phone, to create a virtual touchscreen controller. But we all know that those don't really work that well. They're possible. I've done them in the past before, but I've definitely come to learn that when it comes to mobile games, you have to design them differently than a game for like a desktop or a console. So whether or not it will run is not a question. It will run. It is the same, or at least if there are any changes within the code that need to be made between going from desktop and mobile, those changes will be very easy, and this game will run on it. It's just a matter of the controls won't really be good, and the game's not designed for a touchscreen. But Ouya, I think I will definitely add a couple of videos in there on teaching how to port to Ouya, because that really shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's just a matter of changing up the controller buttons a little bit. and just clicking export to Android. So it shouldn't be more than just a couple of tutorials, honestly, to get it onto an Ouya. And since Ouya does use an actual controller, this game would work very well on Ouya. And I am also making sure that this game is very performance optimized, so it should work on Ouya. So Ouya will definitely be a possibility as far as Android or iOS. I think that that would have to be a different tutorial series, just because that's not really good game design. And speaking of game design, the next thing is that a couple of people came up with the idea or suggestion for within the tutorials to talk about game design theory and really explain things in a deeper meaning, more than just like jumping directly into the code and saying, this is how this works, this is how you do it, and bam, there you go, you're done. I want to get more into, I really want to have theory be, whoops, my screen just went black. Okay, it's still recording. Anyways, I really want there to be a lot of theory talked about in a lot of these tutorials and really talk about game design theory, so that by the time you get through the tutorial series, not only will you know the technical aspects, but you'll learn a lot about game design theory. Of course, I can't cover everything in game design theory just because game design theory is basically infinite and never ending, but I'm going to try to throw in a lot into it and definitely try to make it as relevant as possible towards this genre or this type of game. And then another thing is that for all of the things that you will learn in this tutorial series, such as quaternions or functions or variables, or just all of the technical things that you learn, I want to spend time in every episode to also explain in what other situations these new things that you have learned could be useful, and also whenever you accomplish a task, such as jumping or collision detection or anything along those lines, I want to spend some time and also like explain this is an alternative way that you could have done this. Because the thing with game development and video game programming especially, there's no one way to do any task. There's a million different ways to do anything. So I kind of want to just get people's heads in a way of thinking like that, just being able to say like, so they can look at what they've just accomplished and know that that was only one way to accomplish it. So yeah, I definitely want to just expand, I don't know, just really get deep into theory and explaining things and all of that cool stuff for this tutorial series. So anyways, the next question was, when am I going to start releasing these tutorials, and generally what is going to be the timeline for this project? So one, I got to get the Kickstarter together. It's a lot of work getting a Kickstarter campaign together. Just figuring out everything, planning everything, because I don't want to just first thing that comes to my head, like just throw it up there on Kickstarter and hope that I did it right the first time. There's a lot of research, and then there's a lot of marketing material that I have to create and put together, and just all of that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I need to get ready for the Kickstarter, and I also want to develop the project just a little bit more so that it's definitely presentable for the Kickstarter. So yeah, I don't have an exact release idea for that as far as when I'm going to launch the Kickstarter. Just basically as soon as I can get everything to a point where I wanted it to be, just doing it as fast as I can. So hopefully, let's just say within a month. And then the actual Kickstarter campaign, I haven't decided whether I want to make it 60 days or 30 days. There's pros and cons to both of those. And then after that, I gotta really do all of the work, and that's where most of the time is going to be taken. And hopefully, I'll be able to spend all of my time if the Kickstarter is successful. And so it's really hard to say exactly when I'm going to start releasing tutorials. I want to say like 2 or 3 months, but I mean 4 months after the Kickstarter is finished could always be a possibility. So I don't want to promise a date. I kind of want it to just kind of like Valve's mentality. It'll be finished when it's finished. Quality is my main concern. So if it takes a little bit longer, but it's worth the quality that is added to it for taking longer, then so be it, basically. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a general idea of when the whole thing will be ready and when it will come out. So I know that I rambled on a bunch, and I don't know if anybody actually wanted to know that information, but in case you did want to know all that information, now you know it. So if you have any questions about anything that I said, please comment below or private message me. That would be super awesome. So I guess until my next episode, I will see you later, and keep making games.